restart after some technical difficulties, speech difficulties too. Episode 4 of the Access podcast. We're here at Rizla with Talia Cullis. Thank you for having us today, Talia.
Thank you for having me.
So what's been happening? Where are we? Tell me about Rizla.
We are at Rizla in Braddon. It is a Riesling-focused wine bar, but we also do some mad food as well.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's a good place to start. So I guess, yeah, what's in the name and maybe tell me about the Riesling varietal, I guess, from your perspective.
From my perspective,
actually, before we start, what's your job role here?
I'm the head chef. Well,
Kitchen
if you
Commander.
want to get really real technical, my business card says Kitchen Commander. I started here as the sous chef, and we opened in September of 2019. So we had a good 3 months until lockdown.
Yeah.
And it's been a ride. It's been crazy. We've had bushfires and hailstorms and all sorts of...
bushfires, that's easy to forget about those.
Oh,
I mean,
it was worse.
For some, but...
I mean, all of our seating is outdoors, so it was just constantly wiping down ash from tables, and whether or not our patrons or staff could breathe was whether or not we opened. It was wild.
This actually sort of been where I think Mal from Pilot and Keaton, this is where the conversation started as well. So I guess the headwinds of the past 2 or 3 years. So
everyone opened all really excited, and then the world just went to
it just kept
crap
rolling
after that.
Well, maybe we can start there. You know, like what was that like, and how did you guys respond to the bushfires and COVID?
Yeah, it was a challenge, but I think we went through it as well as we could have. When we started, it was really exciting because it was super, super busy, and everyone was really excited to try our food and our wine, and it was something different in Canberra at the time. And I think when the fires happened, it was just like, it's not close to us, so it should be fine. And then they just got worse and worse and worse, and then the air quality went down, and it was hard to get staff because suppliers weren't able to get through places, and it got a bit heavy there for a while. When the air quality went a bit better, you started getting a little bit more green lights to go. And then a few short months later, COVID happened, and we were like, what the hell?
But it's quite, because when you brought them up, it's like, I mean, I'd kind of, not to be disrespectful, but I kind of forgot about it just because of the magnitude of the next 2 years. But
there's so many things that have happened over the course of the 3 years we've been open.
The hailstorm.
Crazy weather, flooding, storms, COVID, monkeypox, like just random stuff, and you're just like, is this real?
But I guess the positive thing out of it is, I guess, the response to all of that. So I think I sort of cut you off before, but how did you guys respond to like the lockdowns and things like that?
So we're in a very high residential area as well as like on the main street in the city. So there's a lot of apartments around, so we weren't totally cut off. Like we weren't in suburbs where people didn't want to go out or anything like that. So we pivoted. That's our favourite word at Rizla. We pivot. Just like the Friends episode with the couch. So we designed a menu that was very close to what we were doing in store, but also able to carry well, but still be better than your local takeaway. So we did our best to cater as much as we could, and it went insane. We had so many locals that were regulars in the restaurant, so they were always like, can we organise some wine, or can we organise some food, blah, blah, blah. And it just kept going and going and going. And then all the restrictions were changing, and we were following the rules as much as possible. And I'm immunocompromised, so we were like, strict rules. Like, you have to have everything clean, and everyone has to sanitize, and nobody gets in without a mask and all that sort of thing. So it was, we did everything to the letter. The ACT government came in a few times just to cheer us on, make sure that we're still alive and not wanting to die. And then the restrictions eased and we got back into it, and our capacity is really small, so it was, I think, 18 people for the 4 metre square for a few months, which was depressing. But we continued with takeaway as long as we could, just to balance that out so everyone could enjoy. And then we got out of lockdown, and we had crazy storms and floods and all these things, and prices of everything went up and up and up because you just can't get, people working through COVID. And there was a bunch of things that couldn't be imported, and it was a lot, but we're still here.
Nice. So if you could tell me or tell everyone about the menu here, and I guess the philosophy of the place. So it's all based around the varietal of Riesling.
So my boss Andy is just super into Riesling. Always has been. He is obsessed, to put it lightly. And Canberra is just really up and coming with the varietal. It's a really great cool climate wine, so we grow it very well here. We have a lot of suppliers, local winemakers that are just so amazing at what they do, and we love to showcase their work. We don't just serve Riesling. There is a lot more. When I started, I actually didn't drink white wine. I drink red wine, and they were like, well, we're going to have to change that. But it's just really, it's like a point of difference, I guess. It's a really great varietal. It can be sweet or dry. It can be aged. It can be fresh. Like, there's no stopping Riesling, and it's very well paired with food because it's an aromatic grape. So you get different flavors from the food and the wine simultaneously. So the whole menu is designed to pair with Riesling. Not necessarily any style of Riesling. There's always the staff suggestions. They're always really helpful with what they think would go with it. And depending on people's tastes and style that they like, they can always recommend something else. But the food is just a crazy collection of stuff that I thought would taste delicious with wine.
So what's the usual flow of getting something onto the menu here for you, in terms of, from idea to it being on that piece of paper there?
My brain is just a weird mix of things all the time. I get hyper focused on like an ingredient or an idea that I have, or something that I want to try and make work, and then I think of things that I would like to see with that ingredient or dish, and heavily chat about it over wine with my staff and my boss, and then just tweak it from there. I give everybody tasters along the way, and it's a family a family affair. Really.
Cool.
It's just we've sort of follow some rules, I guess. There's a lot of seafood because it goes great with white wine, but I don't know, it's just things that you wouldn't usually see on a lot of menus, just random ideas that have come together and surprisingly worked. So it's fun. I like to be creative, and The food is an expression of my tastes.
Yeah, cool. So if we can wind the clock back a bit, and if you could tell us a bit about how you got into cooking, and I guess we'll start there, and you know how you got into it, and what your training was like, and where you worked, and
my mum would hate me for saying this, but it's your fault. She was a chef when I was younger, and she was cooking, and during school holidays and stuff, I would go and hang out at the restaurant, polish silver, butter toast, you know, do those things. And she was always like, don't get into hospitality. It's a lot of work. You'll hate it, blah, blah, blah. And it was the only thing I was interested in doing.
Yeah, okay.
So we spent a lot of hours cooking at home as well. I always wanted to bake, and she was really good with that. So it was a way to let out my creative passion, I guess, because my other siblings just did so many things that I just didn't care about. So I was like, I just really like to cook. And when I was 15, I got my first job in a restaurant. I was actually a waitress, and I couldn't stop staring at the chefs doing their jobs. So I would come in after school and help prep and make pizzas and stuff like that. And then I was like, I'm going to do this for real. And then started my apprenticeship.
Yeah, okay. So and you went through a school-based apprenticeship?
Yeah, so I did a few like work experience things. One at Parliament House Pastry Kitchens and one at APK in the city that doesn't exist anymore.
The other one was Bailey's Corner downstairs?
Yeah, it used to be.
Was it upstairs?
It's Guild. It was.
Oh, yeah.
That the real downstairs.
Yeah.
One.
Next to Hoggies.
Yeah. That doesn't exist either. So it was fun, and then I did really well in hospitality classes in school. It's the only thing I could focus on because I didn't care about anything else. So my teacher was like, why don't you do a school-based apprenticeship? And I was like, what is that? And she's like, well, you just go 1 day a week, and you still do your normal classes and stuff, but you go to work 1 day a week, and then you go to CIT or training 1 day a week. And I was like, cool. So I went to the convention centre. And that was the biggest production I've ever seen in my life. It was a lot.
So what when you say biggest, what are some of, I guess, what are the size of some functions that you've done there?
Yeah, so when I started, it was in summer, so it was just function after function after function, and it was, 10,000 people, trade shows or banquet, conventions and stuff like that. And then there was a couple hundred people weddings and school graduations and just anything. We did food and wine shows and markets. There was concerts, just so many things, and we just had 5 kitchens. There was so much space. The kitchen would take 10 minutes to walk from one side to the other. There was a full walk-in,
because it goes the full length of the hall, doesn't it?
The whole way. So when you have the doors, when you go into there, from that wall to the other side of the thing, that's kitchen. The dishwashing area was bigger than my restaurant. It was massive. They had a conveyor belt for the dishes. There was the kitchen had 2 huge rationale ovens, and there was a brat pan that I could probably lay 3 people in. It was just insane. The biggest kitchen. Every restaurant, every cool room was specific to one thing. So there was like a walk-in fridge for meat and a walk-in fridge for dairy and a walk-in fridge for fruit and vegetables. And they were bigger than my entire kitchen here. Like, it was just crazy. And that was fun. I did that for a few years, and then I was like, I want to go into restaurants.
Yep.
And
so do you enjoy it? It sounds like fun, the convention center. Was it?
It was so insane. It was fun, but it was just crazy. Like, we did all of these functions, and it was just like not a chalkboard, like
whiteboard?
a clipboard.
Oh yeah.
Like a clipboard for each day, and they printed out like run sheets of everything that people were having, and it would be consistent prep all the time, because it would be, morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, a snack, like cookies and coffee and stuff, and like all that. And sometimes there would be 10 pages stapled to each other, because there was different rooms on the walls, like just doing different things. Like, it was because there's, different spaces in the place, so that was wild.
And then you're saying moving on to restaurants. So what brought that about? You just looking for something new?
I always wanted to be in a restaurant. I just ended up at the convention centre because my teacher knew that they wanted some apprentices, and I thought it would be cool to give it a go. And so the sous chef that was there actually quit chefing and went to work for a building company, and they were building a restaurant on the Kingston foreshore called Sea Dine Bar. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was like the first restaurant there, and it was really exciting. And
so that was like 2014 or something? 2013, 2014?
I'm an old lady. I was 20, so like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So he was building that restaurant, so he was like, hey, they're looking for an apprentice, do you want to come and do like an actual restaurant? And I was like, that would be so cool. So I went and met Dan and Sean, and they are just really cool people, and I was really excited to start my new adventure. So we weren't open for like a month when I started, so we were just testing dishes, and that
must have been fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. This was in the height of like molecular gastronomy, and so
Did you verify anything?
Yes, we verified a lot of stuff.
Like for the menu, ended up on the menu and stuff.
Yeah, so we did like pearls, like little pearls on I think 3 or 4 dishes. The oysters, we had like a soy pearl with wakame, and there was a lemon pearl on a seafood dish with like ginger and stuff. So, yeah, it was really cool. But I'd never seen any of this before, so I was like, what the heck is this? You're just giving me containers of powders, and I'm like, how does this make food? So that was really exciting and really cool. It took a lot of trial and error. It's quite exact science with the measurements, and that was the first time I saw like a mini scale that did under a gram, and I was like, what? This is so crazy. And then we learnt about agar and spherification and all this stuff, and I was just like, what? This isn't food. And then it made food, and I was like, what? But that was really cool, and that was my first taste of like real restaurant work, and really exciting. And then I went to Les Bistronomes under Clement Chauvin, and that was just the most wild ride. So exciting. The food is just next level. I was just so impressed with everything all the time. And the chefs that were there were just so incredible, and just knew everything and everyone worked in sync, and it was just really, really cool. That was one of my favourite places.
Yeah, and that's where you completed the majority of your training, and you finished your Cert 3 there too, huh?
Yeah, you were the trainer for someone else actually there.
Who was that? Was that Jason or Adam or something?
Adam, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then I remember you walking in and you had the biggest beard I ever seen, and I was like, who is this guy? And he's like, yeah, that's my trainer. And I was like, he looks terrifying. It turns out you're the nicest guy in the world, so it's fine.
Look, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of trouble actually with my training organisations through my apprenticeship.
Yeah. This is not a paid advertisement, everybody.
Yeah. I really, really liked my trainer, and then she went to you guys.
Yeah.
And then...
Hi, Michaela.
Yeah, hi, Michaela. And we got a different trainer, and then they liquidated, and I was in limbo for a while.
Yep.
And then I went to Access. So
yeah.
Here we are.
Here we are. So,
years later.
I guess through your Cert 3, what were the biggest or strongest headwinds, and what were the coolest things about your apprenticeship?
I think the challenge was trying to get everything done at the same time as working restaurant hours.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things that we had to do to pass the courses were things that weren't exactly on the menu.
Yep.
And just trying to find the time to do that as well as your regular work is challenging, but it was also fun because then we got to do fun things for staffies and stuff like that.
Cool.
So everyone kind of benefited.
Yep.
So that was probably the hardest part, was the, I guess, time management.
Yep.
And having to study at the same time.
Yep.
And then...
Do you feel like it was a valuable process though?
Yeah. It definitely teaches you, I guess, time management and like how important it is to set out like your intentions of what you're going to do and get stuff done. And I don't think it was super hard. It was just like a little stressful in the busy periods and stuff like that. So setting aside time to do that was a bit different to what I'm used to, I guess. But I guess the best part was a lot of Access's courses are like self-guided, so you could just hit pause if you needed to, but you also got to do the things that you wanted to do. So you can choose the courses you wanted to be enrolled in, and the recipes, they give you recipes to do, but you could also do other things that weren't in the books, and so I could just try whatever I wanted to do, and it counted. So
cool.
My boss was like, okay, are you wasting time? No, I'm doing this, and it's fun. Okay, good.
Yeah, cool. So do you have any advice for young Talia if you were jump in a time machine and go to back then? Or
I feel like I wouldn't take myself so seriously, I don't think. I was like, I'm going to be the best chef in the world, and I'm going to do everything, and I'm going to be just the best ever, and nobody can stop me. And then I was like, wait, kitchens are teams.
Yeah.
And I think I forgot that a lot of the time because I was like, you're not doing it right, I'm doing it. You know? And I just really learned to relax, especially here in this role. It's so much more fun when everyone's involved and can do everything that you can do. And it's probably one of my favorite parts of my job is just sharing my knowledge and skills. Yeah, cool. And getting everybody else to where I
am
want.
I correct in stating that this is your first like head chef job?
After I left the Gastronomy, I went to a few places where I was like the solo chef, at White Rabbit. And, we had a really small team at Lonsdale Street Roasters. But I was the head chef there, but it didn't. I don't know if it really felt like a head chef role because it was just kind of hanging out with friends most of the time. We just had a great time in the kitchen. sorry. It it was just, I didn't really feel the pressure to be like the head chef. And I guess because they weren't really restaurants, that it was like, okay, I'm, solely responsible for this, but it's not incredibly demanding.
Yeah.
So this is like my first head chef role where I'm like, okay, everything has to go exactly how I planned it, because the kitchen's small, the team is small, the restaurant is small, so everything has to be spot on all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So one topic we've talked about a bit is being a young lady in hospitality. So maybe if you could, I guess, illuminate your experiences a bit, and I guess, how was it? Where's it going? That sort of thing.
Yeah. When I was younger, it wasn't a fun time, to be honest with you. Especially as an apprentice, like, people don't take you very seriously in general as an apprentice, or back then anyway. And as a female, I don't know, I guess they automatically perceive you as being like weaker, or not being able to handle the job as much, or like probably a bit more emotional. And the start of my apprenticeship, it was like, okay, this is gonna be great, I'm a strong, independent woman, like I can do this, and it was surprising, I guess, to see how I guess misogynistic it was. But also not surprising, because there's always been that male-dominated industry. But I am a strong, independent woman, so I was determined to
So
prove them
were you inherently like that, or you had to learn to be like that?
I've always been quite strong-headed. I was very shy as a kid, but as I grew into a teenager, as my mum will attest, she was like, oh, you can't tell her her opinions. I always had opinions, and I was quite vocal about them. So I guess the best advice I got further on in my apprenticeship was with Clem at Le Bisnom. He said, when you're in a kitchen and you have an apron on, you're a chef. So you're not a female or a male, you're a chef. And I still say that to this day. Like, you have to put aside everything, and it's like, you're here as a part of a working machine. So, there was a little bit of like tension every now and again, but chefs butt heads. And I think it's a good thing that the industry now is just like so much more mellow. Everyone is really excited to see where everything can go, and there's so many strong female role models now, and a lot of females getting into higher positions in hospitality in Canberra, which is so awesome. It's really, really great. And the community in hospitality in Canberra is just so special. Like, everybody is on everyone's team. They back each other. They're excited for each other. They praise each other. Like, you just have really good relationships with everyone, and people want to collaborate. They want to talk to each other. They want to drive each other, and it's just really cool. So
you
really
recently did like a Braddon collaboration.
Didn't
you, for quite a good cause of charity and stuff.
Our good friends at Zarb. Hey, Becky. Our really good friends at Zarb. We love them. They're just so great, and their food is some of my favourite in Canberra, and Riesling goes really well with spicy food, and we wanted to do something different, and during last year we did a few collabs with them, one was, our club was supposed to be on the first week that we locked down again.
Yep.
And so we did a takeaway collab. And then a few weeks later, when we were out of lockdown, we did an in-house one, which was really, really cool. And then a few months later, Becky, the owner, who's also a strong female hospitality person, she's great, she approached me and was like, hey, I want to do an International Women's Day lunch or dinner sort of thing. Do you want to be involved? And I was like, heck yeah, I do. Sign me up. And it ended up being so crazy. We did a couple of weeks worth of menu planning and preparation, and we got Charlotte on board from Tusk, and she set up a lot of donated alcohol and stuff, and generously let us use Tusk as the organisation so that we could legally do a charity event.
Mm-hmm.
So we raised $18,000 or just over $18,000 for domestic violence crisis services and Tip Jar, which is a hospitality charity fund. And it was awesome. Yeah, we got a lot of females on board through the hospitality community. So all of the kitchen staff were chefs from around Canberra that were female, and all the bar staff were just excellent bartenders from places like Rockford and Hijinks and stuff like that.
Yep.
And we had a couple of people from Pilot, and just also it was just a really fun day of we did 2 lunch sittings and a dinner sitting, and then a drinks session afterwards. And Canberra just really came out for us, so it was really
cool.
awesome.
Will this be a regular thing, or?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Charlotte unfortunately has moved to Sydney. Yeah, our loss, but we definitely want to do it again. It was a challenge because we'd never done it before, so there were a few things that we could iron out for next year, but I would love to do it again.
Yeah, cool.
It was really cool.
What was I going to ask you about?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, so just the Braddon community. It's like a mad little village here, isn't it?
It is.
It's like everybody really seems to know each other and get along, and you've got 86 just next door, and you know, you tell me you use that cool room sometimes. And
we actually have a hashtag on Facebook. It's so dumb. It's hashtag Lonsdale Street Neighbours.
Yeah, okay.
So a lot of times when we are just crazy busy and we like run low on something or whatever, we run to each other's restaurants and just borrow stuff. Hey, 86, can I borrow your cool room to put these chips? Or can they come over and ask, oh, can we borrow some straws? Or you know, and a lot of hospitality in Canberra is like everybody has worked for everyone. Like everyone's worked with everyone. So we all know each other, and we're not afraid to ask for help from each other. And I think it's really good. Like the community here, it's, I always say it's like, you know, growing up on a street, there was like all the parents and all the kids were all friends. And you'd go over and borrow sugar or you'd ask someone to look after your kids or whatever, you know. It's kind of the same thing. You
can have a mad adventure all in one. Not like my brother was visiting from Perth, and I think we started at Benspoke, and then just sort of went all around the place, you know, a few different pubs, went to that all-you-can-eat sushi joint that's down there, and, you know, a bit of fun or whatever. But one thing I did notice walking the streets is really vibrant. Like, you know, everywhere was full, lots of people walking around, you know, having a good time. It felt really cool. And,
it's awesome. The Rainbow Roundabout is always a focal feature for everyone. They always try and get on there and take pictures and stuff. Quite dangerous, but I think they've done a really good job of making Braddon into what it is. Especially like the ACT government, they've just been awesome. They always, putting out the planter boxes for Floriade,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always something going on at the park down the road, and they do the summer nats, like car shows, and there's always something going on in Braddon. So it's just a real draw card to the area, which is awesome for us. And it's beautiful, we've got big, huge trees everywhere, and it's sunny and it looks beautiful all the time, and there's cool buildings everywhere, and
convenient too. You're essentially in the guts of the city.
Literally, yeah. So, and you don't have to be like around all of the shoppers and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's just down the road, but it's like feels like another place. So
yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, Matt. One thing I have noticed about you is you're big on professional development. So in terms of you're always taking ideas from social media or whatever from your network of friends and things like that, and also like eating out. Like your stoke level is just like really high on like ideas and stuff like that. So in terms of that, like so like going out, do you have any favorite restaurants?
Oh my gosh, I am a serial eater at Raku. Love Raku.
Yep.
EXO, the guys do some crazy good stuff there.
Yep.
I spend a lot of lunches at the Italian place.
Yep.
I eat a lot of pasta.
Yep.
I just really love the going out aspect of everything. I don't get a lot of time to do that because my days off are often days that people are closed.
Yes.
Which is a shame for me, but I really love going out. I love trying new foods and
do you find much of your does much of your inspiration come from going out? Like do you eat out and you're like, oh, that's cool, and sort of integrate that
a lot of
stuff?
the food that I eat out is food that I don't necessarily think I could make.
Sure.
I'm not very good at Asian cuisine, but I really love eating it.
Yep.
I don't know, I just really like to see what everyone else is doing, and I get ideas, I guess, like everyone else, of flavors more than anything. Not so much like what people are doing with their dishes, but like things that I wouldn't necessarily pair together, or textures I've not tried before and stuff like that. And I'm just like, wow, that would be cool. Oh, imagine if you did it with this, or like imagine if you did something like this. And it always sparks something in my brain, and I think about it for ages. Like I went to Sydney for the Wine List of the Year awards last week before.
Fun.
And that was a new experience. I'm not in the wine scene per se, but we were nominated, so I went as a representative, and it was cool. It was really cool. But afterwards we went to a restaurant, and I have not stopped thinking about this one dish for the last 2 weeks. Yeah, okay. So I don't know, I just get things stuck in my head, and I'm like, what can I do to get this out of my head?
Yeah. So what was the place and the dish, if you don't mind me asking?
And so it was called Restaurant Hubert's, and it was a savory tart. So it was like what I imagine they did, because it was very strange. What I imagine they did is, so there's like a pumpkin puree on the bottom, or like not a puree, more of a mash, and it's like a disc that seals the top of the tartare, and underneath that is like a French onion soup, and it was so rich and delicious, and the pastry was so flaky and caramelized and gorgeous. But obviously I've been thinking about this for so long. They've maybe like thickened the soup or coagulated it somehow, or frozen it, and then in the cooking process the soup like obviously melts, and then when you flip it over, the soup portion, like that rich broth, was like an onion jus, that was like the sauce for the tartare.
Huh.
And it was just the most amazing thing. Like my mind was just like, what?
Yeah.
This is the most delicious thing I've ever eaten in my life.
Yeah.
And so it was like, when you flip it over, obviously the pastry's on the bottom, but they had like the pool of sauce around it, and then it was just like this beautiful bright orange pumpkin mash. And then when you cut into it, it was like a layer of like the rest of the soup, so like the thick chunky onion and with all the herbs and stuff, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps right now.
Here we go. Yeah. So the AHA Awards, you recently participated in the Chef of the Year competition and placed right at the top, or not right at the top, but in amongst the top 3 there.
Yeah, I didn't get the winner, but
Bugger.
always next year. So.
Next year, hey. But what was that like?
Terrifying.
Yeah, okay.
I'm confident as a chef in my job and everything like that, but when I have to talk about it in a setting where I know I'm being judged, my life just goes out of my brain. Like can't. I was so stressed, and I was like, I need to remember to tell them this, and I need to remember to say that, and then I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying, and now I'm just rambling, and now they're like, going back to this question, and I'm like, no, I answered it wrong, and I was so stressed. So stressed. I guess the best part was just showing my food and the confidence of being able to pair the wine with it, and just being like, okay, this is why this is good, and hope you like it. And I guess you guys did.
Well, there was one question I forgot to ask at the beginning. So I guess if you had to describe a typical experience at Rizla, so I guess from sequence of service, so someone rocks up to the time they leave, what can they expect?
The most valuable thing I think about our service here is we like to have fun with it, and we're also really knowledgeable. So having the people on the floor that we do, they're just so excited to be here, and they love what we do, and I think that really carries out in the service. So when you come in, booking or not, we'll try and sit you if we can. You get your menus and everything like usual, still sparkling, blah blah blah, and then the guys give a spiel, because our menu is a little bit different, I guess, to a lot of other menus in terms of, like, our kitchen is really small. So we try and make a lot of sharing dishes and stuff like that. So they explain, how the kitchen works and how the menu works, and you can go a la carte or we can do a sorted out. And it's like a guided menu of our favorite dishes. And I guess we really pride ourselves on how well we can deal with dietary requirements. My menu is set up to be able to be altered but still amazing for most dietary requirements. It's always better when
it's really part of
us,
the required skill set these days as a chef, isn't it?
It's such a necessity to be able to think very clearly on how you're going to make this accessible for as many people as possible. There's a lot of new dietaries popping up every day, and there's always the weird allergies that people can't help, but you want to try and give them the best food that you can. So what we do here is easily as good as it can be to cater for those requirements. And we often have a lot of people say, wow, I've never been able to eat that much food at a restaurant with my dietary and stuff like that. So it's really cool. Yeah, it's really good. So, we could do a full sorted out menu for most dietary requirements. So it's really good. But I think the best part is like the atmosphere. Everyone's always, there's good music playing. The staff are excited. You can taste different wines that you've probably never tasted before. And we really like to be able to show people new things that they probably wouldn't like necessarily choose for themselves, and be like, hey, give this a go. And then they're like, wow, this is the best thing I ever had in my life. Like, a lot of wine is inaccessible to people if they don't know anything about it. So I guess we're just bringing wine to people in an approachable way.
Yeah, cool. So. One last thing I wanted to ask about. So I guess focusing again on your role as a head chef here, what's your favourite part of I guess being a kitchen commander and we'll just start with that.
I think always first and foremost, my favourite part of being a chef is like that busy period where everyone is just in sync.
Yeah.
It's always like a little high for me.
Yeah, okay.
I love it when we're in the middle of like a Friday or Saturday night service and it's just like, I don't have to talk to my other chef and he knows exactly what I'm doing and I know exactly what he's doing. And I'm cooking at the stove and he's prepping the plates to be plated and you know, we come together seamlessly and it's just really exciting to have that trust and be able to lean on your other people in the kitchen and put out something that you're really proud of.
Yeah, cool. So what do you think of the keys to achieving that?
I think...
Because I've noticed, like, sorry to interrupt, but I've noticed that, particularly between you and Andy, it's very transparent communication. So, like, everybody knows what's going on. Sorry.
It's an incredibly open process in our restaurant. I don't know about other places, but for me, there's no team without respect and trust. And so when I have new people in my kitchen, I always teach them to do what I want them to do at the standard that we expect. So we go up in stages during the training process of like where we're at so that everyone does everything exactly the same and the quality is there and it's you know, the team knows exactly what everyone expects from each other. And if there's, you know, questions or someone has an issue with something or they think they can improve it somehow, then it's an open forum. Everyone can talk about it and be able to express their ideas and everything. And so, yeah, it's really good to have people that have your back and you have theirs and you trust, like when I have days off, that my staff can do exactly what I can do and it's going to be great.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, just to wrap up there, what can we expect from Rizla over spring and summer? You got anything exciting coming?
We are doing a few secret squirrel businesses. There's a couple of collabs coming up and wine dinners with some really great winemakers.
Cool. Local?
Local and Australia.
Yeah, cool.
Some of the benchmark winemakers.
Cool.
In Australia and just more great produce.
Yeah, nice.
Just really excited to get into warmer weather.
Yeah, that's it, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally the sun's out.
Yeah, and COVID, hopefully, touch wood, goes away for good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's about it from me. Is there anyone you want to shout out or say good day to anyone?
I think I already shouted out along the way.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, thanks heaps for your time. Thanks for having us today and coming in on your day off. And I guess, for supporting us with training and all that.
Always a pleasure.
And, we'll talk again sometime soon, hey?
Thanks so much.
Yeah, dude, that was awesome. Thank you so much.